How are you doing today? It's Rory again, doing another tour. This is going to be a short and sweet tour of Galway. Okay, so gentlemen, as I said, this is the Latin Quarter area of Galway, so was rejuvenated in the 1980s. It's the main entertainment district here. The look and feel of Galway is very much like traditional old... The look and feel of Galway is very like traditional old Irish. So you can see a building here established in 1715, and there's been a huge effort to actually retain that old and cultural quality that we have. Oops. Yeah, don't go there.
Get an itchy feet.
Along here you see all the main restaurants, wide variety of loads of different kinds of food we have. So like Irish food, fusion food down there. The Keys was again established in the 17th century as well, so lots and lots of old culture down here. Also loads of live music.
No, it's not.
Down here, just down that lane there, that grey building is the Druids Lane Theatre, a very, very small theatre but very famous. It's won something like 30 Tony Awards for productions that were actually created in the Druids, so lots of culture here as well. Okay, we're walking down now towards Spanish Arch, the area where it is said that Columbus walked 17 years before he went to America. Basically this was the kind of connection point for the west of Ireland and the rest of the world. So the trade that happened here within, thank you, don't let me turn that way. The trade that happened here was in wine and in wool. Also, people say that people in the west of Ireland have a different look to people in the rest of Ireland. So the west of Ireland people are quite dark. They've got like darker hair, and so they say that there was some foreign influences which came through Galway with the Spanish, exactly, and with traders and sailors and things like this. So that's why apparently they have a different look.
But they feel proud about English.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
We're the best looking in Ireland. This area here is Spanish Arch. It's basically where most people hang out during the daytime. This is part of the old city wall. So the old medieval city, the old medieval city was basically from here inwards, and I'll show you the old medieval streets, like the street we just walked down there, this is the Latin Quarter. It's medieval street still because Galway was a very rich and prosperous town up to the late medieval period, but then during the Renaissance it actually went through a recession time for a number of hundreds of years, and therefore in Renaissance cities you see wide boulevards, but because at that time Galway was not a rich city, they didn't rebuild the city, and that's why we are lucky enough to retain the medieval streets. So over here, this is where the trade took place, under this archway and all that period down there. If you look over, this is the Corrib River by the way, if you look over the Corrib you'll see a number of swans over there. It is said in local folklore that the swans are manifestations of sailors who have died at sea and fishermen who have died at sea. So very sad story. And then, as Celestine was saying earlier on, so that area over there is where all the Irish people lived. So during the colonisation of Ireland, the control was from the Protestant ascendancy, and so the Catholic Irish had to live outside the city walls, so that's why that was their area over there. The famous Cathedral, which has the heart, the hands and the crown, reputedly comes from this area of Ireland and represents friendship, love and loyalty. Again. Okay, so now we've arrived onto Shop Street, which is the main shopping street in Galway. You can see if you come out a little bit that the street is quite narrow and it's quite small. It's the original medieval street that was built, that was when Galway was thriving in the early 15th century. Behind me here is Lynching Castle. Okay, this building was built by the Lynch family, which one of the 14 tribes, more powerful families of Galway. There's a word in English called lynching, which is when someone's attacked and hung. It's reputed to have come from the Lynch family because there's an old folklore tale that when one of the Lynch family leaders found out that his son had committed a crime, he actually hanged his own son. This, in fact, is not true, but it is a local folklore tale. So that's, some people say that's what lynching is. Shop Street, and we're at the intersection of Shop Street and the Latin Quarter. If you just look behind me, you'll see a pub called the King's Head. Again, you can see it was established in 1649. This is the year that Charles I of England was actually beheaded in the Revolution in the UK. and this pub was actually founded by the executioner of Charles I of England. So quite another bloody story of history and war. So again, you can see, you get a real feel for like the depth of history that we can offer you in Galway. Okay, so behind me in the background here you can see the Cathedral of Galway. It's built out of the native granite that's found in the local area and out in the Connemara area. The cathedral is actually a modern building. It was built in the 1960s, but it used a lot of the local materials that you can find here, so like deep grey stones, which really sort of represent the city as a whole, and the tin and bronze roof and the copper roof you can see up there, which is gone with the green. The Cork River runs along us here. It runs throughout the city, and it flows into the sea at Spanish Arch. Really famous. The river is really famous for trout and salmon fishing. So you can actually go up further the river to the lake, maybe a 30-minute drive from the city centre, and do some of the best salmon and trout fishing in the world. Okay, so we're standing outside St. Nicholas's Cathedral in the Galway city centre. The cathedral was built in the mid-14th century, so it's actually the oldest operational cathedral in Ireland. It was a Catholic cathedral until the 17th century, the 1600s, when it was taken over by the British Crown and became a Protestant, well, a Church of Ireland church. During the Cromwellian invasion of Ireland in the late 17th century, the church was actually, Cromwell's horses were actually kept in the church, so if you walk inside you can see hoof marks on the floor. Other myths that are associated with the church would be that there is the body of a crusader buried in the church. And it has a great association with military figures. Like there's a number of flags and memorabilia from the Connaught Rangers, who were seen as kind of like the Victorian equivalent of a SWAT team in the British Army. And that's it.